So, yesterday, Wizards of the Coast came out with this video on their ban and restricted philosophy. Now, what they discussed in this was not cards that they were banning in formats, but how they decide what cards to ban, when to do it, and they also announced that they're changing the ban restricted window. Um, what this means is that they can be more flexible when they're banning cards. The way they had put it in place beforehand was they were doing, I believe it was one big BNR announcement every 6 months for Eternal formats, and there would be an emergency ban window within 4 weeks. No, 4 weeks after a set comes out. Now, within two sets of this, they are rolling back on this announcement. The reason is, um, uh, they don't have a massive window to change things. So if they stick to a hard and fast 4 week window, um, and a regional championship is in 6 weeks, or sorry, if a regional championship is in 2 weeks after a set comes out or something like that, it means that they might be banning things too close to a regional championship or after a regional championship when a card should have been banned beforehand. We're going to have a listen to this, and we might see why they've rolled back on this, seeing as they have also said there are cards being banned next Monday. So let's just listen to this.
All the
Phoenix
decks start coming back, rise from the ashes, as you will. So that was pretty sweet. There's some movement going on there. And then clearly with Lost Caverns, the Discover decks are all over the place. Amalia has a cool little Wild Growth Walker combo deck. So lots happening. But again, we want this to be a fun, replayable format.
We do.
Losing on turn 3 all the time, when your opponent just casts one card, it's not that fun.
No, it's not, is it?
If you can never go over the top of your opponent, or they always have the perfect sideboard card, sort of out of the mono green deck, not that fun.
I wonder what they're talking about there.
So, yes, there's going to be changes to the format. You'll have to wait until Monday.
Yeah.
So there are changes on Monday. They have referenced that losing on turn 3 because your opponent discovers or your opponent has the perfect sideboard card, and they're not talking about mulliganing, right? This is, for those of you that are big Pioneer players, you will know exactly what they're referencing. If we just whack on this. The first thing that they referenced, losing on turn 3. This is the deck that has taken Pioneer by storm, and is it any good? So the combo is you play Geological Appraiser on turn 3. So we're just going to open this image in a new tab so you guys can... No, come on. Oh, come on. Okay. The combo is you play a Geological Appraiser on turn 3 using a treasure token created from Magnum Opus. Geological Appraiser will then cascade into either a Glasspool Mimic or an Eldritch Evolution. Should you hit a Glasspool Mimic, the Glasspool Mimic will copy the Geological Appraiser and it will discover again. This keeps going until you hit an Eldritch Evolution. Once you hit an Eldritch Evolution, you sacrifice the Geological Appraiser. Eldritch Evolution gets you a Trumpeting Carnosaur, which will discover 5 until you hit a Geological Appraiser, a Glasspool Mimic, in which it copies the Trumpeting Carnosaur or the Geological Appraiser just discovers into an Eldritch Evolution, which sacrifices one of these two cards to then become a Trumpeting Carnosaur, which discovers until you've hit all 4 Eldritch Evolutions. You have 4 Trumpeting Carnosaurs on the board. You sacrifice the last one off of your last Discover trigger to cast Doomscar Titan, which gives all of your Carnosaurs +1/+0 and haste. So now you have, well, I suppose you can have 4 Carnosaurs, 1 Titan. They all have haste. The Carnosaurs have trample. That's 32 trampling damage. It is essentially the creativity combo, but it goes off a turn earlier, and it's far more consistent. There's less interaction for it. It I don't know, it's just like whatever. Now I want to check to see what the actual win rate for this is. Let's go 7 days or 2 weeks, I guess. Um, Discover evolution. Okay. Okay, it is actually winning a lot of games, in fairness. 52%. What about MTGO? Okay, what about tabletop? Okay, it doesn't have enough data really. That's okay. We'll do last 15 days. Can we stop with this, please? And it's going to ask me for cookies again. Yeah, in the last 15 days, Discover Evolution's at 53%. That's pushing the highest of the field next to Phoenix and Lotus. And then Quintorius Combo is at 40%. Quintorius Combo is essentially the same sort of thing, but it aims to go off with Quintoria. What is his name? Quintorius Canned. He's going to discover 4 into something that will copy Quintorius. And then when you cast that spell, it drains your opponent for 2, and then that spell will then discover 4 into something that will copy Quintorius, and then you just loop that until you drain your opponent. It's far easier to interact with that one because you can just destroy the Planeswalker. They also need to go off on turn 5, not turn 4, and like it caves to Pithing Needle, like that kind of thing. It also caves to like, I suppose they both struggle with Damping Sphere, but it's there's no perfect answer, especially when these decks are just like their like backup plans are solid against control. Just ramping into a Thought Distortion, sure, you win the game. They have Mirror Shell Crab, Consign as interaction in the early game if they need it. They can just cast a Shark Typhoon as well as a backup plan. Like, these decks aren't just, they're not glass cannons right now. So they have referenced that they are banning Geological Appraiser. I'm sure this will still exist as Quintorius combo, and people can play it and it'll suck. It might come up here and there. But if we look at the meta game as of recent, it's completely warped the format in a way that's very interesting. Like, control is now good. The biggest problem with Azorius control is that it just doesn't have very good like interaction. Let's be honest. Like, the Wandering Emperor is great, but it's so easy to see. If your opponent, they tap out every turn, and then turn 4 they're like, crack on. I've not got anything. So then you just don't attack with your important pieces, and you pressure them with other things that have ward, things that have evasion, and then you just like, yeah, you can make them play the Wandering Emperor, which is why I just like, I don't know. I've never really struggled against this deck. They don't have any great counter spells. Like, Change the Equation's okay, but you know, it's more of a sideboard card, let's be honest. Get Lost is a new thing that they've got from Lost Caverns. It's a far better removal than the Investigate option. Make Disappear being the best counterspell we have in the format is just like, it's not good. It's simply not good enough. Absorb is 3 mana. It's rough. Memory Deluge and Spurdict are great. Like, they've proven throughout multiple formats, standard, modern, pioneer, that these are real cards that you can play. But the controlling portion of the control deck just doesn't work as well as maybe it would. But this deck is doing well because it trumps the geological or the geo form. Is that what they're calling it? Yeah, sure, geoform combo. Um, if we look at the Discover Evolution versus Azorius Control, it has a 33% win rate. So they'll ban Geoform, and then Azorius Control will fall off the face of the earth again, and all will be back to normal. It'll be Phoenix is the best deck, and Azorius mid range is going to be there. Same with Boros Convoke, and that'll just be the format for like the next year and a half, which is fine. There will be one other difference though. I want you to take note of this.
Sort of out of the mono green deck. when your opponent just casts one card, it's not that fun.
Yeah.
If you can never go over the top of your opponent, or they always have the perfect sideboard card, sort of out of the mono green deck, not that fun. So, yes, there's going to be changes to the format.
Now, they're referencing the mono green deck. That's so interesting. Having the perfect sideboard card. What, are they mulliganing for it? Because they've all got one-offs. Oh no, wait. They have Khan the Great Creator. They're banning Khan. I don't know why. So, like, mono green, for the longest time, was sat here. It was the #1 deck in the metagame forever until Phoenix got sleight of hand. And Phoenix batters. It absolutely batters Green Devotion. Come on, give me 15 days again. So, is it Phoenix versus... Where is it? Green Devotion. It's at 53%, so maybe it doesn't batter. Maybe I was being a bit generous there. But Is It Phoenix is beating Green Devotion. It always has. And it will continue to. But with that being said, if its worst matchup is genuinely just... Oh, it's also got Convoke, right? So Convoke is out there as well. The metagame has adapted, and I'm a Rakdos Sacrifice player. I hate playing against mono green. They just play Storm the Festival. They have it every time. Their Planeswalkers are too hard to kill. Cure is too big to kill with combat damage. As soon as Khan's on the board, it's too late. But that's largely a thing specific to the deck I play. And if I remove my own bias from it, I don't think Khan's the end of the world. There are decks that are beating it. There's 2 decks in the top 5 that are beating it. And sure, they are there just to beat it. But Hidden Strings is also there that's going to beat it. Like, if we look at the top 10, 1, 2, 3 of these decks have a really good matchup into mono green. I don't know what Greasefang is like, in fairness. Where are we? Greasefang. Mono green. Okay, well, it gets smacked. Never mind. Yeah, so 3 of them have a real chance of beating Nykthos. If 6 months ago they decided to ban Khan, I would get it. It was pre-sleight of hand. No one was playing Phoenix, even though it's probably still good. Not many people were playing Convoke. There was a bit where it spiked and then it went back down. Everything was struggling to beat Nykthos. And it was miserable to play against, no matter who you are. Rakdos mid-range couldn't compete. Control couldn't compete. Greasefang's not doing anything. Humans was doing really well into Nykthos, but it was getting smacked by Sacrifice. And Sacrifice was probably helping mono green's win rate quite a bit, if I'm honest. But now both of these decks have fallen off. So maybe if we see the Geoform combo disappear, that leaves Nykthos back up top, probably above mid-range in terms of like best decks. So maybe you do want to knock it down a peg, and that might be healthier for the format. We'll see. So Khan's going, Geological Appraiser's going. There might be unbannings. I don't know what I'd unban. So we just leave it as is. Now moving on to Modern. Let's see what they have to say about Modern.
Cards could come off of all the lists.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk more about Modern generally. Modern's a very different format than Pioneer, so how do you all think about the philosophy of BNR and Modern?
So yeah, again, just describing it's sort of in a different spot than in Pioneer and Standard. It does get content. We have our Modern Horizon sets. We have the Lord of the Rings sets. And again, sort of the same trickle from Standard where the most powerful cards come down there. And yeah, it's certainly more powerful than Pioneer. And we're okay with that. We want it to be, different from these. Each format has to have its own identity. We want them to maintain their differences. So we sort of have been tracking Modern since the Pro Tour in Barcelona, Pro Tour of the Lord of the Rings, through the whole regional championship qualifier cycle. And at the time, we last spoke with you guys about Modern, we were saying, hey, we're going to keep an eye on these Lord of the Rings cards, the Bowmasters, the One Ring,
Yeah.
the Black Red Evoke deck. The time Tron was doing well, Rhinos.
I love how hard even the Wizards employees have to try to call it Evoke. Oh, it's great. You mean your cards aren't scams? Is that what you're saying?
All this stuff. And since then, we've
Ooh.
seen not much has changed since that event.
Yeah.
So
much has
we gave it a little bit of time to see if Black Red Evoke deck won the Pro Tour. Can the format evolve? But really, more people just started playing Black Red Evoke deck. Cards like Fury subsidize on sort of both ends with You're Not Dead Already, I think is and
Come on, you know what it's called. Just call it Undying Evil or whatever.
those card variants, the 1-mana black
Not
spells.
dead after all.
Not dead
yeah.
after
Yeah,
all. Subsidize the Pro Tour. Can the format
Just replay
evolve?
this bit.
But really, more people just started playing Black Red Evoke deck. Cards like Fury subsidize on sort of both ends.
You gonna mention any other cards or just card like Fury? There's only really one card like Fury. It's called
With You're Not Dead Already, I think is and those card variants, the 1-mana black
Not
spells.
dead after all.
Not dead
yeah,
after all.
the-
My bad.
all the 1-mana black. You
Yeah,
don't, you're
Malakir
not dead.
Rebirth.
It's Undying Evil.
Undying
for-
Evil.
yeah,
There's
for the
a
Magic
whole
Millennials.
gamut of them. And then on the other end, with cards like Up the Beanstalk, where no matter how you kind of cast it, you're just getting immense value, and it's keeping a lot of 1 toughness creatures at bay.
They also, come to think of it, they also mentioned by name Up the Beanstalk.
That with Bowmasters as well.
Yep.
So it's pretty clear something should be done. We want, again, as many decks as possible. We want as many cards to be an
This next bit is super interesting.
option for you as possible. And if we have all these cards that are saying don't play 1 toughness creatures, well, what is that keeping away?
What is it keeping away? We'll send it over to you, Mr. Hostman.
Right.
1 toughness creatures.
Hit the nail on the head right there.
Yeah.
Bang.
Yeah.
Case
Okay,
closed.
great. All right. Okay, so let's be clear. Are there changes coming to Modern on Monday?
You can expect changes.
Yes, there
to
will
Modern.
be change.
Boom! Bans in Modern. They're banning Fury. That's what they'd said they're doing. They're banning Fury. In response to this announcement, I have put for sale my Orcish Bowmasters. If you go on Card Market, buy them, please, because they might ban the Bowmaster instead. That could be the possibility. They reference Fury quite a bit and Bowmasters quite a bit. They're only going to ban one. My chair's going down. They're only going to ban one of them. You can't really ban both. And I think the ways that they'll go is either they decide they want to ban Fury because Fury is the problem card. Let's be honest. What does it stop us playing 1 toughness creatures? We haven't been able to play 1 toughness creatures since Fury was printed. Orcish Bowmasters was just like the nail in the coffin, alright? Fury was always the problem for these small creature decks. And when we're talking about small creature decks, there's only one, and it's humans. So humans is unplayable because of Fury. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know that there's Sliver players, and I know that there's like Death and Taxes players. I myself was one of them. There is kind of Zoo, but like Zoo, Slivers, Death and Taxes, those didn't exist pre-Modern Horizons 2 anyway. Let's be honest. But Humans was always a competitive deck until we saw Fury introduced. And then Orcish Bowmasters came afterwards. Orcish Bowmasters is what rounds out the Scam deck really well, because the best way to beat Scam is drawing out of it. You put, like, you've got the mono black decks playing Knight's Whisper or Sign in Blood to draw out of the Scam, and then Bowmasters punishes that. The same way it punishes the One Ring. It's actually quite good game design to put a card like Orcish Bowmasters in the same set as the One Ring, because it's built in counterplay, right? The only problem is it fits into such a tight shell. Now, I'm going to be honest. I wouldn't hate Scam if it either didn't have Grief or Fury, one or the other. But Fury is the thing that's pushing decks out the format. They did also, so I'm if they're going to ban a thing from it, I'd rather they ban Fury, because that will actually allow humans to come back. But there's a knock-on effect with banning Fury, and it is Cascade Beans becomes way worse, and I mean way worse. This deck isn't actually, as I say that, 5-color Omnath by Benjamin Yao isn't playing any copies of Fury, so maybe it doesn't become way worse. But you see 3.9 and 83% of decks here. Most lists are playing them. Respect the Cat. He's not playing any. He's playing. Okay. You know what? I take it back. My take was gonna be, you ban Fury from Scam. Beans gets hit really hard as well. They also referenced up the Beanstalk. It does hit Crashing Footfalls because they play a couple copies usually. There we go. There's 3 in the 75 here, 2 in the main deck in half decks, maybe 1 more in the sideboard. But yeah, it's just like, maybe these decks actually don't need Fury, because Cascade Beans is already playing Fire Ice, which is very often a 2-for-1 against the same sort of decks. So what do I know? Maybe we ban Fury. It kills the Scam deck completely. I'm sorry, but it will. You can't dedicate. What are we doing? 4, 5, 6. Like, you can't dedicate 6 of these spells just to reanimate Grief, because then you have 6 dead cards in your deck. You just can't do it. You need, like, sometimes they just go Thoughtseize, Fury Scam, try and beat it, try me, right? That's a lot of their hands are that, and without the backup of like Fury deal with it, I think the deck becomes way worse, because that's almost a plan B if you don't have the Grief Scam. Alongside like the Ragavan Douthie Fair game plan, which is also quite good. So yeah, I think if they ban Fury, Scam is dead in the water. Maybe we go back to like a red-black mid-range shell, similar to the sort of things Aspiring Spike was playing before the Scam deck was like decided the most efficient way to play that kind of strategy. And I'd be fine with that personally. I wouldn't mind playing humans. I played humans for a brief period of time before MH2, sorry. It was fun. It wasn't as good as it was pre-MH1, but there we go. What was? So yeah, we're getting bans in 2 formats, and they're both. I think it's both going to be good. I think the Khan ban is like, it's too late to matter at this point. Like I think Phoenix is sort of controlling that a bit more. So hope, fingers crossed, they keep doing that. And then everyone's saying like, if you let Fury go, Yawgmoth's gonna be the best deck, and it's like, sure, I guess. Like, the 1 toughness creature decks are still gonna suffer to Yawgmoth, but they need to play a card and have it on the board before that starts happening, right? It's not like they can just throw away a couple cards from their hand and do anywhere from 4 to 8 damage across all your creatures. So yeah, Yawgmoth is not gonna destroy Modern, I hope. I think there's quite a bit of counterplay to Yawgmoth right now, especially with Cursed Totem being as popular it is. Scam is probably dead if they ban Fury. Now, if they ban Bowmasters, nothing happens. This deck gets a bit worse, but then nothing happens. So I really hope they don't ban Bowmasters, and they just hit Fury, because, come on. For the longest time, I've not really complained about it too much. But like, oh, Elves was another deck. Elves is dead in the water because of it. Like, humans and elves are gone. They just don't exist anymore, and it's very sad to see. I'd like to see them come back, because those sort of decks, even if Scam is not existing anymore. The human style decks, like the creature aggro decks, will pressure Tron in the same way or in a similar way that Scam can pressure Tron. Beans will still exist. They will be worse against these creature decks, but they're just going to play Supreme Verdict anyway. Like, I think there's still answers to creatures in the format that are good. We just need to play them, essentially. No one's playing them because everyone's playing Scam. Like, look at this Modern Last Chance qualifier, for example. Yeah. So bye-bye Scam, bye-bye Mono Green, and bye-bye Geoform. Mono Green's not dead, by the way. It's just a lot worse. The deck's gonna have to change. So yeah, I'm excited to see these format shakeups. I think the modern one has been a long time coming. It's a bit late, to be honest. Fury has been in the format now for 2.5 years, and it's been in there too long, really. A lot of people have left over Fury, so that sucks.